Widerstand nest, that's WN 71 and 72, have been drawn up over the years, showing different details. A Widerstand nest has an infantry platoon plus attached weapon crews. Widerstand nest 71 positions are red, blue shows trenches, green shows barbed wire obstacles. The positions and trenches still exist. This is the artillery observation bunker. This double firing port bunker guarded the draw from enemy approaching from Verville. WN were designed for all-round defense. 2 Burstark Feldmesser 5.8C Ringstand Granatenwerfers. Targets had been pre-selected for fast laying of the tube. Trenches, 3 firing points, and the camouflage makes it invisible from the air. Wire obstacles vary from 30 to 60 yards deep. There are 2 underground concrete shelters. There are concrete bunkers for ammunition storage, and there's a Burstark Feldmesser flak position. This is Widerstand nest 72, WN 72. Belgian gate and concrete cube block the road to Verville at the rear of the position. Rear-facing double firing port bunker. Mortar pit. A unique double regular bow 667 SK kleine Scharfschützenstand for 5 centimeter KWK, sighted to fire east or west. It was covered in brick to make it look like a house. 2 overlapping 8.5 foot tall walls, 6 foot thick anti-tank barrier walls blocked the 125 feet between the R677 casement and the cliff. The overlap left just enough space for troops to walk through. In front of the walls was an anti-tank ditch. Regelabau 677 Scharfenstand for 8.8 centimeter Pack 4341 ohne Neubaumraum, sighted to fire east. Construction was completed 25 April 1944. It was covered in brick and had a false facade to make it look like a house. Wood and masonry seawall between the R677 and R667 casemates. Machine gun bunkers. Two Burstarker Feldmesser 5.8C ring stands, known as Tobruk pits, are machine gun armed, usually with a captured foreign weapon. What we don't have photographs of is the 3 Burstarker Feldmesser 4A machine gun shelters. One was covered in stone for camouflage, and 2 Burstark Feldmesser 5.8C ring stands for Granatenwerfers. WN-71 was occupied by some troops of the 11th Company, 726th Grenadier Regiment, 716th Infantry Division. There were at least 3 MG-42s and 24 riflemen from the 5th Company, 914th Grenadier Regiment, 352nd Infantry Division in WN-72. Approximately 1,100 German troops were positioned along the coast between WN-60 to WN-73. This is the view looking out to sea, showing wire and anti-landing craft obstacles. The beach shingle was 4 to 10 feet tall. About 350 yards from low tide were Czech Jezir. About 300 yards from low tide line were Himmelbalken, 1/3 equipped with teller mines. About 200 yards from low tide were Hochplana, 1/3 of which were fitted with teller mines. About 100 yards from low tide line were Bowform C Cornet, or Element C Belgian gates. Each line of obstacles were pre-registered targets for mortars. This map shows the U.S. intelligence on German positions at Dog 1. Omaha Beach was believed to be defended by elements of the 716th Infantry Division. The 716th was rated capable of static defense operations and largely immobile. The troops were mostly non-German ex-POWs, either very young or over age. They were equipped with old, mediocre weapons. The troops are suffering from overstrain of building field works from first light to dusk. Sentries often fall asleep. About 600 troops are along Omaha Beach. The plan. The Allied plan was to directly attack the 5 exits along the 7,000 yards of Omaha Beach. The only hard surface road off Omaha Beach is through the Verville Draw, designated Dog 1. With the artificial Mulberry A harbor installed, combined with overshore landings at Utah Beach, U.S. forces could be built up and the 37 million tons of supplies in England imported. HR was fixed for 3 hours before a high water mark to give the Gap assault teams time to clear away German obstacles so landing craft could continuously operate. On 6 June, about 0630 hours was the lowest possible tide, leaving approximately 300 to 400 yards of exposed beach, so landing craft would disembark troops in front of the German beach obstacles. Minesweepers start clearing the 400-yard wide channel convoy route from the embarkation points through the German sea mines. Western Naval Task Force will arrive in the transport area 11 miles, 18 kilometers from shore to avoid German artillery. SS Empire Javelin, A Company of the 116th Infantry Regiment would board 6 landing craft assault of Royal Navy 551 Assault Flotilla. The LCA was selected because it is more heavily armored than the U.S. Navy's LCVP. The troops would load front with the LCAs held on the divots at deck level by narrow yard-long metal gangplanks. Royal Navy 551 Assault Flotilla, under radio silence in the first landing wave, departs transport area led by patrol control craft PC 567 and 568. The 551 has to take a diagonal course covering nearly 20 miles to reach the beach 12 miles away. 2nd through 5th landing waves depart transport area. Bombardment Force C fires on the shore until H hour and then inland targets for another 20 minutes. Fire was continued after H hour against batteries and strong points on the flanks for varying periods. Based on the time it was expected the troops would reach the various phase lines. 480 heavy bombers of the 8th U.S. Army Air Force are scheduled to drop 1,285 tons of bombs on Omaha beach defenses. 33 B-24s and 6 squadron waves were to drop 88.2 tons of bombs on Dog 1. LCT Flotilla 12, carrying DD tanks of Baker and Charlie Company 743rd Tank Battalion to launch 4,000 to 6,000 yards from shore. With the assault troops 300 yards from the beach, LCTRs of Fire Support Group 4-3 would form a line abreast 3,500 meters from the waterline and each fire 1,064 5-inch rockets to crater the breach for the assault troops to use for cover. Landing craft gun large of Fire Support Group 2s to fire on German concrete bunkers. LCTAs of Fire Support Group 4-4 would start firing at the beach from 3,000 yards. These armored LCTs had custom-built raised wood firing platforms in the front tank space to allow 2 M4s to fire over the bow. DD tanks of Baker 743rd Tank Battalion to arrive at Dog Green and C 743rd at Dog White. The tanks were to fire into the bunker embraces to enable the infantry to breach the wire and then attack with flamethrowers and demolition pole charges. Fire Support Group 4-4 LCTAs to land 10 M4s and 6 M4 dozers of Able Company 743rd Tank Battalion and 2 more from the 610th Engineer Light Equipment Company on Easy Green and Dog Red. 1 tank dozer and a pair of supporting M4s were assigned to each gap team to aid in clearing away German beach obstacles. 551 Assault Flotilla LCAs land Able Company of the 116th, 3 boats on either side of Dog 1. Companies Gulf, Fox, and Easy would simultaneously land. Force Baker, that's 65 men from Charlie Company 2nd Ranger Battalion, lands further east, that's to the right of Dog 1, pass through the captured Dog 1 and capture the German strong points at Point de la Pierce. If Dog 1 was not open, they would climb the cliff to attack the point. An assault company had 4 assault boat teams organized and equipped to breach wire obstacles and destroy German bunkers, so the following waves would quickly cross the beach and advance inland. 2 support boat teams provided additional covering fire for the assault boat teams. A 7th boat with a command boat team rounded out each assault company. Gap teams 1 and 2 land. 30 minutes were allotted to clear away German beach obstacles in 50-yard wide gaps so landing could continue when the tide came in. Support teams land and mark both sides of the gap in German obstacles with can buoys topped with green flags anchored at the low water line and 2 white markers on poles on the beach in the center of the gap. Company A of the 116th has occupied Bearville. This is the landing schedule for the first 230 minutes, just under 4 hours. 23 landing waves were scheduled for Omaha Beach by 2400 hours, 6 June. This is the line to be reached by 2400 hours, or D plus 18 hours in military terms. The battle. General Eisenhower makes the decision, okay, we'll go. Admiral Ramsey assumed operational control of Allied naval forces. The first ship sailed at 0630 hours. When USS Osprey, Mine Squadron 7, was passing the Force U convoy to clear one of the 2 Utah Beach assault waves, it struck a German magnetic mine off the Isle of Wight. USS Chickadee AM-59 came alongside and took off survivors. 6 sailors went down with the ship. These are the first casualties of the invasion. SS Empire Javelin raised anchor to sail out of Portland Harbor under full moon and take up station in the Assault Group 02 convoy in a force 5 wind. The troops had been on the ship since 3 June. Carl Vigner of the 5th Company, 914th Grenadier, 352nd Infantry. Here's large formations of aircraft fly overhead. 352nd Headquarters ordered another invasion alert, and all troops occupy fighting positions. The 6-foot waves, 2.7 knot current, and force 5 wind from the southwest create a sea state just at the outside operational limit of the LCAs and LCVPs, forcing the 551 assault flotilla to head for Dog 1 1 hour early. The winches begin to lower the LCAs into the water. The 2 LCAs from HMS Prince Charles with Ranger Force Baker were nowhere to be seen. Swells crash over the bow ramps. The assault troops are exhausted from having to bail water from the LCAs because the bilge pumps could not keep up. Nearly all the troops were seasick and had thrown up their heavy breakfast served by the Navy. 5 miles from the beach, the PC breaks away and signals, "You're on the right course, there it is." LCT Flotilla 1-2 talked to Captain Elders of the 741st Tank Battalion via tank radio to decide not to launch the DD tanks in the sea state and put the DD tanks on the beach. Many of Company A are so sick they did not care if they lived or died. About a mile from shore and just before time to form line abreast for the run-in, LCA 911 in the starboard column is swamped by a bow wave. The troops squeezed the CO2 cartridges to inflate their life belts. Their equipment weighed so much that they had to kick to stay above water. The waterlogged equipment was impossible to remove. Only the radio operator drowned. Troops and sailors from sunk ships were to be picked up by U.S. Coast Guard rescue ships. Company A is now short 30 men. The naval bombardment starts. The USS Texas's 5-inch guns fired 91 high-capacity and 99 common shells at Dog 1. In the dim morning light and mist, the shells land inland, setting the grass on fire, adding to the mist, but do destroy many of the German minefields. On the beach, Billy Schuster shakes Carl Vigner awake, pointing at the ships in the bay, visible for as far as the eye can see. Upon hearing planes, all take cover in the back of the bunker. Circling beneath the bomber stream was a lone B-17 with General Lawrence Kuttner in the co-pilot seat. General Arnold's personal observer waited for the sun to come up to see if his hunch that the Luftwaffe fighter force was not a threat to the invasion fleet was correct. 8th Air Force Command feared hundreds of German fighters had been held in reserve to attack the invasion fleet. As the sun came up, no German fighters dived out of the dense clouds over Normandy and the Channel. With 710 to 1010's cloud layers at 6,000 to 10,000 feet blocking most view of the ground, the first B-24s at 14,000 feet salvaged their bombs when the leading Pathfinder did on German beach defenses from Point de la Pierce to Point Mbesen. The last bomb is dropped. To account for the lower accuracy of the H-2X radar bombing, the first Pathfinder bomber added 5 seconds to the bomb release time. The last flight added 30 seconds. With the bombers moving 100 yards per second, the first bombs landed a few hundred yards inland and the rest 3 miles. A few errant bombs landed on the beach. 117 B-24s returned to England with their bomb loads. LCTR 366 came up behind the 551 assault flotilla's double column and fired rockets. The range was misjudged and the rockets landed 300 to 400 yards short of the beach. 551 assault flotilla forms line abreast. Inaccurate German mortar and anti-tank gunfire starts hitting around the LCAs. One LCA is hit by an anti-tank round just above the waterline, wounding one Company A soldier. A LCG, likely 424, came up, fired his 4.7-inch guns at and hit the German bunkers visible on the beach, knocking chunks of concrete off them and turned away. Mortar rounds and occasional anti-tank rounds continued to hit around the LCAs. When the bombing and firing stopped, Villa Schuster was the first to the firing port, with Karl Wegner and Oberbergfeuer Lang right behind. Small boats were approaching the breach. Wegner got behind his MG-42 and closed his eyes as Lang ordered, wait until he hit the beach. LCT Flotilla 1-2 lands Baker and Charlie, 743rd Tank Battalion, 50 yards from the shore, and the tanks wade into 5 feet of water onto Dog Green's left side and Dog White. The tanks spread out 70 to 100 yards apart and stay in the water, using it for cover and advance in with the tide. Baker lost 7 of 16 DDs and Charlie 2. The haze over the beach, heavy smoke from grass fires, and dust thrown up by shelling make it nearly impossible for the gunners to spot Germans with the tank's weak optics. Able Company of the 116th landed his plane at Dog 1, with 3 ships on the left and 2 on the right. The LCA bow ramp drops, and the Able Company 116th men exit single file. It took over a minute for troops to exit an LCA. The left group of 551 assault flotilla grounded about 30 yards from the water's edge. The right group landed at the water's edge. German fire stopped. The men in the left group waded through 4 to 6 feet of surf to the beach, looking for the rocket bombardments and shell craters to take cover in. The right group formed a skirmish line at the water's edge as the CO held a quick conference. All 5 LCAs withdrew from the beach. The LCA division commander orders landed against light opposition on target, radioed to Empire Javelin. Oberbergfeuer Lang ordered fire when the assault troops were knee-deep in the water. The Wegner opened his eyes and froze at the sight of the troops. Lang used his pistol to tap the top of Wegner's helmet, bringing him to his senses, and he fired. German machine guns along the cliff, WN-71 and 73. The left group in the surf and disembarking was enveloped by intense automatic weapon fire. Troops dived underwater or dropped over the sides into the water over their heads. Every officer and most NCOs were hit. Some troops stopped 9 feet or stepped into 9-foot deep tidal runnels and had to swim in. Many troops were hit in the water and drowned. Others took cover behind obstacles and went on back to the sea for cover. The air was alive with the crack of bullets, but not a single German could be seen. In 7 to 10 minutes, Able Company of the 116th lost 140 of 155 men. The survivors fell back to the surf, behind obstacles, behind the tanks of B Company, 743rd on the left. The 2 tanks closest to Dog 1 were burning and the ammunition cooking off. As the tide came in, the troops moved forward towards the protection of the seawall. Smoke from brush fires, along with the strong currents, caused Fox and Gulf Company of the 116th to land near Dog 3. Easy 116th landed a full mile away and fought with the 1st Division. The naval officer in tactical command orders USS Thompson, McCook, and Carmick, firing in Point de la Pierce, Dog Green, Dog White, Dog Red, and Easy Green, to cease fire after receiving a report some shelling was hitting the landing troops. The 2 Force Baker Ranger platoons land and lost 35 of 65 men making it to the cliffs. With Dog 1 closed, the Rangers shifted about 350 yards west, that's to the right, began to climb the cliff, 100-foot cliffs with bayonets and toggle ropes, then attacked WN-73. Haze over the shoreline, absence or failure to control craft, and sea currents caused gap teams 1 and 2 to land on Dog White, where they made 2 narrow gaps in 20 minutes. Teams 3 to 6 landed in the 1st Infantry Division area. The Gap team suffered 111 killed and wounded out of 272 men. LCTs land Able Company of the 743rd Tank Battalion and the 610th Engineer Light Equipment Company on Easy Red Beach, 2 sectors away from the planned landing area. 8 of 10 M4s and 7 of 8 M4 dozers are lost. The 6 LCAs carrying Baker Company of the 116th were targeted by German machine gun and anti-tank fire on the way to Dog Green Beach. One was blown up by a German shell during the run-in, and 2 boats land on Charlie to the right of Dog 1. One is immediately blown up by a shell hit. Machine gun fire rakes Baker Company 116th Commander's LCA ramp as the troops disembark. Those who jump over the side and escape the machine gun fire are dragged down by the weight of the equipment and drowned. Only 1 of the 30 men survived. The few B Company 116th survivors join up with the Force B Rangers. The LCA with headquarters, Able Company 116th, was with this way. Only a few of the 18 men aboard survived. Sub-Lieutenant T.E. Aldridge turned 3 LCAs carrying Baker 116th away to land 1,000 yards east to the left of Dog 1. The LCM's late arrival at LST Princess Mound delays the support team landings, and the current pushed them into the 1st Infantry Division area. The metal dam buoys are easily punctured by German fire. With both being the same color, landing craft crews could not tell port from starboard to know where a gap is. Only 1 of the 6 gaps was marked. By the time the tide goes back out in the afternoon, 10 LCSs, LCM, LCI, LCT, and LST are lost to beach obstacles. How many of the 55 LCVPs lost are due to obstacles is unknown. The U.S. Navy closes Dog Green to further landings. PC 567 and 568 direct all following waves to land further east to the left of Dog 1. At 0700, the tide has covered the check desert, the first row of obstacles. The 6th and 7th landing waves are redirected to land at Dog White between WN70 and WN68. Blowing smoke from burning grass fires helped conceal the landing. 1 Charlie Company, the 116th assault boat team, reached the seawall and breached the wire without casualties. Smoke from burning brush set alight by the naval gunfire concealed their advance up the cliff. Under the direction of General Cota, other Charlie Company 116th troops breached the wire in a second location with 3 killed. Charlie and Baker Company troops crossed through the lanes and used German trenches to reach the base of the cliff and started to climb up, concealed by the smoke of burning brush. The lead elements of Baker and Charlie Company 116 advanced inland from Dog White, turned west, and reached Bearville behind Dog 1. 7th Naval Beach Battalion suspends landing of vehicles until beach exits are open. USS Carmick breaks the ceasefire order that suspended supporting naval gunfire at H-hour. The Carmick observed a group of tanks having difficulty making their way along the breakwater road towards exit Dog 1. When the tanks fired at a target on the cliff above them, the destroyer fired several salvos at the same point. The tanks shifted fire further along the bluff, and the destroyers used the burst again as a point of aim. Destroyer USS McCormick commenced firing on a pillbox that was seen firing on the landing troops. Captain Sanders arrives off Omaha Beach. Concerned about increasing casualties on the beach, he ordered Destroyer Squadron 1-8 to close on the beach as far in as possible and support the assault troops. The tide coming in is raising the water level more than 1 inch per minute. Oberst Groth, 16th Grenadier Regiment, phones 352nd Division headquarters. Naval guns are smashing up our strong points. We are running short of ammunition. We urgently need supplies. When the line was cut by U.S. fire. With the tide coming in the shingle, the shingle is jammed with troops, vehicles of all types, and the surviving tanks of Baker and Charlie Company, 743rd Tank Battalion, between Dog 1 and Dog 3. Destroyer USS McCook and USS Frankfurt closed in 1,000 meters of the beach to fire on German positions. Obergefeuer Lang's bunker took many near misses before it hit near the firing port. A chunk of concrete caused a deep gash on one of Lang's cheeks. LCTs land 2 platoons, a Charlie Company, 121st Engineer Combat Battalion with 16 bulldozers. each carrying 10 200-pound cases of explosives in special overhead racks on Easy Green Beach. Only 3 bulldozers survived. The first gap was cut in the shingle and seawall. Lang spotted someone moving right outside the rear of the bunker and moved to cover the open doorway. It was Helmuth from the 5-centimeter bunker, bruised, bleeding, and with a wound in his right leg. As they bandaged Helmuth, he told them the Volkdeutsch, who made up most of the unit, refused to fight and wanted to surrender when the bunker started being hit. The Oberbefeuer in command threatened him with execution, and one of the Volkdeutsch shot him dead. Helmuth was beat up for being the only other German in the bunker. When fire started landing around the bunker, the Volkdeutsch ducked for cover and he escaped. Lang's bunker was the first one to let him in. Lang looked at the bunker and saw there was no fire coming from it. Lang tried the phone, but the wire was dead. He picked up several grenades and headed toward the bunker. Lang tossed the grenades in the bunker and headed back. On the way, he was hit by U.S. fire and killed. The commander of the 121st Engineers ordered the remnants of Baker and Charlie Company with 2 bulldozers to proceed to Dog 1 to open it for traffic. Out of MG-42 ammunition, Carl Wigner, Billy Schuster, and Helmuth left the bunker and used the west communication trench to get off the beach and go up the cliff around Verville and escape inland. Some of the Force B Rangers in WN-73 fired on them. USS McCook and Thompson opened fire on Dog 1. Battleship USS Texas closed to 3,000 yards of Dog 1 and fires 10 Mark 19 14-inch high capacity rounds and 21 5-inch at WN-71 and 72. USS McCook spots 30 Germans leaving the 88mm bunker with a white flag and ceases fire. The 121st takes the Germans prisoner. Some shell fragments from the naval fire rained down on Verville, and blasts knocked several U.S. troops off their feet. In Verville, General Coda forms a patrol with 3 officers and 2 enlisted soldiers and proceeded down through Dog 1 in the smoke, dust, and debris thrown up by the naval gunfire. In a short firefight, Germans are captured and herded ahead of the patrol. To the beach meeting 121st Engineer Combat Battalion elements outside the wall. General Coda orders the wall removed to open Dog 1 and heads down the beach to Dog White. Under light German sniper, mortar, and artillery fire, covered by the 116th Infantrymen's fire, 121st men blow through the German wire with Bangalore torpedoes to get at the wall outside Dog 1. 20 engineers place 10 cases of explosives at the base of the wall opposite the troop passage. The remaining German troops evacuate WN-72. The charge against Dog 1 wall is ignited, demolishing it along the width of the roadway, leaving only a dent in the pavement. Baker Company 121st Engineer Combat Battalion remain on the beach to complete opening the exit and clear the road to Verville. Dog 1 is open, and the surviving 30 tanks of the 743rd start for Verville. Charlie Company 121st Engineer Combat Battalion starts clearing away all WN-72 positions to open Transit Area 1 west of Dog 1 is about 50% complete by dawn 7 June. The only structures of WN-72 left today are the 88mm and 50mm gun bunkers.